So in this video, we're going to look at the adjustment brush tool. Now, this is a somewhat new tool that Photoshop added. I don't know if it's my favorite. I don't know if it's something that I will use all the time, but let me show you how it works. Some of you may use Photoshop differently than I do, and you may find this tool very useful. So let's just take a look at it. So what it's going to do first, so here's your adjustments, right? So I have that selected, the adjustment brush tool. First, I want to select what I want to do is the adjustment adjust tool. Like, what do I want to adjust? I'm going to use hue and saturation. You could actually do any of these things: invert, posterize, threshold. You could do that. So we're going to take a look at some of those things that you kind of do with that. Let's just look at hue and saturation first. And I'm literally going to paint with a brush. Now, I could use any brush really to do that. Any brush that I have in my catalog to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and paint, and you can see now it doesn't look like much is happening only because the default set is only kind of bumping up the saturation a little bit. But watch as I change the hue, you can see where I've painted, it's actually changed that. And you're going, okay, well, how did it do that? All it did is basically put the hue and saturation and then put the mask on it for you where you painted. It's nothing more than if I did this, right? Hue and saturation. Let's just adjust colorize just so you can see. And I said, all right, well, I don't want to paint everything, so I'm going to use a regular brush here. Paint with black and kind of, get rid of the spot and keep that kind of purple sky that's there. So could you do all that? Yes, absolutely. It depends on the amount of steps that you want to do, and depends on how you want to use it. This tool does get you kind of everything faster. But it's taking like one step out of it instead of 2 or 3 steps out of it to do it. So let's just take a look at some other things that you could do inside this. So I'm going to do hue and saturation. I did hue and saturation. Let's just try like a threshold on that. So I'm going to go ahead and use this brush. Yep. And I'm going to go ahead and paint here. Now you can see this is actually a really great tool because I can actually see live kind of what's happening if I just wanted to paint a little bit, right? So let's just kind of do down here. It's doing the threshold, and I'm just seeing it happen live on there, which is actually a really great, it kind of helps my ADHD with this. I can see it, and it's great. And you can do that with any of these. So if you're really kind of getting into it and you want to play with it, like that really does, it does help. So there's a couple options that are up here. You can actually, so if I kind of do, let's just take it away from threshold for a second here. We're going to go back to hue and saturation. If I'm kind of doing it here, right, and let's just kind of up that. And let's up the color just so you can see the difference. If you're like, no, I don't like that, there's also the minus brush that's there. And so I could kind of take away, you're just kind of editing the mask at this point. But there are things you could do. You could also change the opacity of your brush. So if, again, you want a little bit more fade with this, you could kind of make that happen. Okay? So those are some of those tools. I'm going to get into this object selection tool in a second. Great. Okay, so let's look at what else it can do. Within this tool, I can say apply to object. Or it's also this little button that's here. And you can see it's going to use object select to make this happen, right? So it's selecting the object for me. Let's just select this one. And you can see I've selected it, and now I can make my adjustment. Okay, which is great. It saves the step of selecting it first, then going to hue and saturation and doing it. It's already there. It does it in kind of one click instead of multiple. I think that's the real benefit of that is it's a little bit more of a time saver than anything else. And I could always change, I could do a different one instead, right? So if I wanted to do levels or curves or anything, I can kind of do that. But so that's the tool, the adjustment brush tool. Use it for how you think it's going to be the best applicable to you. I think it saves a little bit of time, but you may also say, it's not worth it, right? But so that is the adjustment brush tool inside of Photoshop.